What if I told you that the collapse of America's most powerful company didn't start with an explosion, a protest, or even a press release, but with total silence? One day, the elevators in Amazon's Seattle headquarters just stopped carrying the midnight strategists. The war rooms went dark. And the meetings that once mapped global trade routes in real time, vanished from the calendar. No memo. No warning. Just one subtle, earth-shaking signal: Amazon was leaving America. Not expanding, not outsourcing, leaving, for good. Before you scroll, ask yourself, what does it mean when the most advanced, globally integrated company in US history decides that America is no longer a good place to do business? Because that's exactly what happened in 2025, and the reasons why will shake your understanding of how trade, politics, and power really work. Let's rewind. January 2025. A new US administration enters the White House on a wave of economic nationalism. The slogan: Bring America Back. The method: tariffs. Not just on China, but across the board. Electronics, pharmaceuticals, even Canadian lumber. Then came the real gut punch: the death of the de minimis rule. A once obscure trade exemption that let low-value items enter duty-free, now axed. For you and me, that meant higher prices. For Amazon, it meant economic suicide. That tiny little rule was the linchpin of Amazon's third-party marketplace. Think of the phone case you bought for $3.99, the USB cable from Taiwan, the LED lights from Shenzhen. All of those items suddenly carried tariffs, some up to 145%. Amazon's razor-thin margins. Gone. Its price edge obliterated. Foreign competitors operating outside of US borders now had the upper hand. Suddenly, American tariffs weren't punishing China. They were punishing Amazon. In secret, Amazon's executive team launched what they called Project Silver Compass. The goal? Relocate Amazon's entire global command structure. This wasn't just a symbolic move or a PR stunt. It was a corporate jailbreak. They weren't looking for a friendly second headquarters. They were looking for freedom, from tariffs, from unpredictable trade policy, from political pressure. The search began. Singapore, Ireland, Canada, the UAE. 4 radically different countries, one thing in common: zero or low tariffs, favorable tax regimes, and a clear message: Amazon, come here and you'll never have to deal with American politics again. What happened next was a high-stakes game of geopolitical chess. Behind closed doors, Amazon's relocation team negotiated with foreign governments. In Dubai, they were offered a 10-year tax holiday, a sovereign data treaty, expedited visas for 40,000 employees, and their very own logistics-free zone. In return, economic prestige, infrastructure upgrades, high-tech jobs, a digital empire, reborn on foreign soil. Meanwhile, the storm back in Washington was gathering strength. Amazon, in an act of digital protest, began testing a feature that displayed tariffs directly on product pages, showing customers exactly how much government policy was costing them. The reaction from the White House: explosive. President Trump's spokesperson accused Amazon of inciting economic panic. Congressional allies threatened antitrust investigations. It escalated fast. According to insiders, a heated call between Jeff Bezos and the president ended with a chilling ultimatum from Bezos: if you make it impossible to operate here, we will operate somewhere else. Then came silence. The meeting stopped. The lights in the executive floors went dim. And on May 6, 2025, the announcement came. Amazon was moving its global headquarters out of the United States. The destination: Dubai. Wall Street blinked. Amazon stock dipped 5%, then rebounded. Analysts realized that by escaping tariffs and capitalizing on tax incentives, Amazon could save billions. But for Seattle, the fallout was catastrophic. Tens of thousands of employees faced impossible choices: relocate or lose your job. The city's housing market started crumbling. Tech-driven small businesses collapsed. Local tax revenues plunged. And all the while, Amazon was already deploying wave after wave of teams into Dubai. The new HQ wasn't just a building. It was an ecosystem. In Abu Dhabi, sovereign data centers were being built from scratch. Fulfillment hubs in Bahrain and Oman were upgraded with solar grids and autonomous robotics. Engineers were being retrained on Gulf regulations, Islamic finance, local compliance laws. Amazon was becoming post-American. But here's the twist, it wasn't just Amazon. Apple began warning regulators that unless Chinese chip tariffs were reversed, it would be forced to shift operations abroad. Tesla expanded its battery production in Indonesia, well beyond the reach of US labor policy. Even Walmart began revisiting its logistics playbook, worried it could be next. So what just happened? America's tariff war was supposed to protect domestic companies. Instead, it pushed its most powerful one out the door. Trade policy wasn't just tax policy, it became corporate warfare. And Amazon made its choice. It didn't just leave a country. It left a system. Inside Dubai, a new kind of company is rising, stateless, autonomous, governed not by the US Congress, but by bilateral agreements, sovereign data laws, and private infrastructure deals. Amazon is no longer just a retailer. It's a geopolitical entity. A nation-sized corporation choosing its own jurisdiction. And the world is paying attention. In Ireland, tech officials launched a campaign targeting US cloud companies, promising digital sovereignty and seamless EU access. In Singapore, economic planners began designing corporate campuses that mimic Amazon's new HQ. In Canada, government liaisons quietly reached out to other US firms rattled by rising tariffs. The message: you don't need Washington to survive. You need trade freedom. And in America, the backlash is erupting. Politicians are calling for federal inquiries. Labor unions accuse Amazon of abandoning its roots. Protesters gather outside empty Seattle offices, demanding accountability. But the horse has left the barn. The infrastructure has been moved. The deals have been signed. The engineers have flown out. The cloud, quite literally, has relocated. All of this begs one question: in the 21st century, what does it even mean to be an American company? If you incorporate in Delaware, but your taxes are paid in Dubai, your supply chain runs through Asia, your engineers live in Toronto, and your data sits on servers in Abu Dhabi, are you American? Or are you something else entirely? The truth is, Amazon's move was the symptom. The disease. A global system where national policies are clashing with borderless businesses. Tariffs were meant to bring companies home. Instead, they created the blueprint for how to leave. And now the exodus has begun. Amazon's new headquarters is being called the world's first digital special economic zone, a corporate city-state designed for the age of algorithmic commerce, optimized logistics, and regulatory arbitrage. Regional universities are opening labs in AI logistics, warehouse robotics, and post-national governance. Diplomats are studying the Amazon case as a model for corporate migration. Meanwhile, back in the US, the Department of Commerce is scrambling. Could new tariffs push Google, Microsoft, or Intel to consider similar moves? Could the tax base collapse in other tech-driven cities? What happens when the most valuable intellectual property in the world is no longer protected by American law, but by foreign treaties? This isn't just about Amazon. It's about the future of national economic sovereignty in a borderless era. It's about who gets to write the rules when the biggest players don't wear flags. And it's about a chilling realization that the United States, once the undisputed headquarters of global capitalism, may have just priced itself out of its own empire. So, here's the question we leave you with: what happens when companies become more powerful than the countries that birthed them? If Amazon can walk away, who's next? Hit that like button if this blew your mind, subscribe for weekly deep dives into global economics, and leave a comment. Do you think Amazon betrayed America, or saved itself? This is just the beginning. Because in a world of tariffs, trade wars, and disappearing borders, the new frontier isn't a nation. It's a network. And Amazon just moved to the center of it.